Actually, I can follow up on what just has been discussed and mentioned. BOKU University is a university where we cover all topics that you mentioned that are related to bioeconomy. Self-understanding is also very strong in sustainability university, bioeconomy university, and green university. What we would like to put the focus on is the future. We are more interested in the future than in the past because we intend to live in it, as Albert Einstein said, and I fully agree that we have to have this perspective, which is not obvious, as we tend to have a lot of experience, we have data from the past, empirical data, but we very rarely look into the future. And in the future we have two aspects. One is the anticipatory competence that we want to foster, so to know about trends, about where will the future develop. But there is a second one. And our federal president took also up on this and congratulated us to found the BOKU base, BOKU Activities Supporting Entrepreneurship, because he wanted also to see visionary people. And that is what we are trying to foster also at a university, which is not obvious because it's a lot of knowledge transfer, but really about visions and how we want to see this future that we are going to live in. So what we try is to give them the tools at hand. The background you all know are the Sustainable Development Goals on the one hand, so we have challenges, we face these challenges, and we need the people to tackle these. We have a lot of knowledge, we have the expertise, but how does this knowledge come into practice? And one fundamental step is the question is also, how can we implement entrepreneurship, fostering competences, entrepreneurial competences, developing an entrepreneurial mindset at our university is the anchorage in the structure. And the willingness of the rectorate, in our case, to foster this. This was committed in our strategic papers. It's the Entwicklungsplan und Leistungsvereinbarung. One is the strategic paper of the university. The second one is the agreement with the ministry. So these are the fundamental framework conditions that we can operate in now, and the specific implementation is the BOKU base, BOKU Activities Supporting Entrepreneurship, where we try also to start at the scientific findings and bring them into practice, but also to encourage students and scientists to become more entrepreneurial. How do we do this? We have three fields of activity. Today I will focus on the first one, on education and sustainable development. But we also are in research and IP, so intellectual property, and into labs and infrastructure. In education, in the first step we want to make visible what is already existing at university. That's also a problem. We have these optional courses, we have these extracurricular offers, but it's hard to get them to the people, to make them visible. So this is one first step. We do that currently also through the development of certificates, curricular integration, so further development, but also activities that are not curricular. So these are events, workshops, etc. In research and IP, it's most focused on spin-offs and spin-off support. So I won't go into detail in this, but also it's about awareness raising, also for researchers, that they don't publish before protecting IP, for example. And the third activity is in labs and infrastructure, where we provide infrastructure for startups and spin-offs at our university. They have to pay for it, but they are closely linked to our research facilities. So now the team, we are 1.5 full-time equivalent, 2 students working with me on education, on the educational part, and supporting specialist students, but up to PhD students, so already at the step to become real scientists. And we have started a couple of years ago, where we had a look at what is existing already at our university that could relate to entrepreneurship. So there is a lot of knowledge courses that could integrate. You learn about business management, marketing, controlling, etc. That is especially in this is part also of these 3 pillars that we have at BOKU. So you have a basic knowledge, for example, in business, but it's a very theoretical knowledge, and it's not put into a systemic understanding. So we are very critical about that. At the same time, we are happy to have this, at least. There's also like project management and some approaches to that can be useful for entrepreneurship competences, especially for this knowledge part. The second part is then the skills, so to apply this knowledge, case studies, etc. We have already less courses, and what is beginning to be stronger is the attitude, fostering the attitudes, as we provide also some courses where they can develop their proper idea into a business, but not necessarily into a business. So they can also found, let's say, an association, which is important. We have this transition from farmers. The family does not have any children wanting to take over, so you look for an external interested family usually, or partners. That is one example of what could be the outcome of it. So that's. I will now go on into 3 areas that I want to tackle or to cover. First one is the curriculum integration. We have already mentioned it. It's a long process. It's not obvious, and you can see how difficult, how long the process is on the right-hand side. This is the official process, and you can imagine how complicated this is. Last year we had Charlotte from BOKU. She was part of the Senate, and we are very lucky to have a Senate now that is very constructive, very willing to implement these transversal topics like entrepreneurship into the curriculum. What does that mean for us? We start at bachelor degree, and a bachelor degree, it will still remain an optional course, an elective course, but it will be integrated in some curricula, maybe in all of them. That would be our dream, as one option among the elective courses. So that raises already a lot of visibility and the importance of this possible orientation within the curriculum. The approach that we have chosen is that in the first step it's a lot about knowing about the tools, entrepreneurship, but it's also experiencing it. So we will try to have a simulation gamification approach to let the students experience what it means to be entrepreneurial. This is important. My background is in business administration and business development. So for me it was quite surprising that at BOKU University, natural scientists, they very often are afraid of getting in touch with economy, with business. They're experts in their fields. They have ideas of how solutions could look like, but starting their own business or implementing them, even as a project, is nothing they would think of or dare to. Many of them, not all of them. There is a gap, of course, depending on the discipline. In biotechnology, for example, it's more likely, in food technologies, but in wooden technologies, for example, forestry, agriculture, there are the traditional companies, the traditional activities, of course, but everything else is really far away from being likely to be approached. The second step at master level is more digging into this mindset development and also in realizing their own ideas, in really developing business plans, business models, but also realizing projects. And at doctorate PhD level, then it's more about outcome of science, scientific results, development to market, It's about spin-offs, it's the preparation of implementing these outcomes. Now in the first step we have 6 ECTS modules or modular courses, so it could be 2 courses for 6 ECTS. And we have this option to combine it with another 6 ECTS to have a certificate. This is also a quite flexible approach within the curricula to flag or to identify courses that fit into our perception or understanding of entrepreneurship education. And that could be also linked to bioeconomy. We are in contact with the bioeconomy because bioeconomy is also one of these transversal skills that we have identified, or transversal topics. So we are working closely together, and the idea is also to combine it, to have entrepreneurial and bioeconomy skills and competences to be together into a certificate. Besides curricular integration, of course, we don't want to wait for the day when it happens. We have events, we have workshops that deal with topics that not primarily address business or entrepreneurship as such, but for example, rhetoric skills, presentation skills. And where we had an extras. We don't go the typical way which you can find almost everywhere, but we try to really learn about failure, taking risks, and that in a very playful and I think very attractive way. The other good practice example in teaching is a course. It's an inter-university course with the University of Economics, Technical University of Vienna, and University of Vienna and many others. Has evolved over 10 years. It's the Sustainability Challenge, and it has 2 tracks. One track is the startup track, and the other track is the service learning track. So the service learning is in cooperation with companies, but also with administration, also with NGOs. So, and that I think is an important also fact that we do not want to limit to business or industry, but also to other actors of society. Some of the examples that came out of the courses, you have startups, like Unverschwendet, for example, is a startup that is now in Germany it's called Aldi, and in Austria it's Hofer, it's one of the big supermarket chains. You have Head and Stamp, I will present it afterwards shortly. So these are founded companies, but you also have some prototyping. You have ideas that have been implemented as a prototype during a course, but afterwards they have stopped the activity and decided to finish their studies. That's also a pathway that is absolutely legitimate and important, as this is just the learning setting. So Head and Stem is one example that is based on coffee grounds, and they will grow mushrooms. They grow mushrooms on these coffee grounds. Very successful, nice company that was founded already 7-8 years ago. Another one, it's a spin-off, AgroBiogel. It's based on lignin, and they have developed this product in order to be used in agriculture. So for now, it's just used in like for households, for plants, and it was rewarded also as one of the best Austrian spin-offs. Was founded by a professor at BOKU with origins in Africa, and he also wants to bring it back to his continent. If you want to know more about it, I've put into the YouTube link, and watch and enjoy. Now the second and third aspect that I want to explain to you also is 2 projects. One of them is Epicure project. It's a European university, and aiming to bridge also in the regions. On the one hand, the societies and local entrepreneurial ecosystems, where also universities are part of it, of course. And it's a huge field of activity, the European University. I want to focus on one event that we had last year, and that was really amazing. I never had such fundamental and deep feedback from students on a course. It was we were very happy to see insightful posts of the participants where they actually confronted us with all what we always try to design, like interdisciplinarity, intercultural exchange, solutions approach, creativity, this team, how they work together and how they evolved during only 5 days. It was amazing for us to see and to experience. It was the second cohort. The first one was only online. So it pointed out also the importance of meeting physically and having two aspects in learning: the formal and the informal settings. Enough time also for the informal settings, because exchange at this personal level happens in these settings. And then also the mixing, of course, with the methods that we used, we could mix both knowledge and learning techniques, for example, but also getting to know each other and work with people you would not choose to work with, maybe. So they were also forced in small groups to exchange without their personal preference, maybe. For the first time, we integrated also tech offers from universities, from KIT in Germany and from BOKU. That was an interesting approach because we had completely different disciplinary backgrounds with the students. So they had to deal with tech offers that were not necessarily of their expertise, the field of their expertise, and they really asked interesting questions. They approached these topics completely differently. And in exchange with the experts, they could really develop in a different way. Yes, and we also we offer the possibility of this personal development. Entrepreneurial personalities, if they don't know yet that they are entrepreneurial personalities, we let them experience on developing. So that was the timetable. We also integrated already time before and after, so that they could plan their trip and really are like triggered to arrive earlier and leave later. That was also crucial. And the picture was taken in last evening. It was an optional dinner. They had to pay by themselves, and everybody was there. Everybody was very happy. It was beautiful to experience. Now the second example is maybe more familiar to you. It's originating from the European Bioeconomy University within the PHOEBE project. And PHOEBE project is aiming at equipping students with sustainable entrepreneurship skills and wants to speed up the European expansion in bioeconomy. So this is exactly what we are aiming at, also in a format that was developed within the PHOEBE project. Due to COVID also, I think it was strengthened, and finally was a 2-part course last year and is now taking place again for the second time. It's a first part in online, as an online course with several modules on the topics that you can see on the right-hand side. So it covers bioeconomy, but also entrepreneurship. And the final part is a week in presence where the teams work on a challenge on a specific topic. And this combination is also very successful, although we had difficulties in the beginning to promote the online courses, but there are really nice interactive formats. So they were, with the help of professional developers in online courses, they were developed with our teachers, the colleagues, and they were very happy to have also this taking by
by the hand and invested the time to develop these courses. And I think that's also an important part, that at BOKU we have this, luckily, the support for teachers to develop these online courses. So they bring in the expertise, and they are more likely also to open up to be helped with these activities than in their field of expertise. Okay, that brings me to the end. Thank you.